The White House has proposed new rules to determine who qualifies for access to its press briefing room on a regular basis and who can be thrown out for behavior officials determine isn't professional. Here's a recent press room scuffle with White House Press Secretary Karine Jean-Pierre and today News Africa reporter Simon Ateba. Let's watch.
This is not China. This is not Russia. This is the United States. This is the White House.
No.
It's been 7 months. I sent you emails.
And the rest of us are here too, pal.
It's been 7 months. You guys have not done anything for me.
If you have grievances, you should bring them to her later.
I have
right
done
now,
that.
This is
I've
for
done
the
that.
entire
All my
press
emails
corps,
have been
and
ignored.
the press corps is tired of dealing with this.
It isn't
I've
just
done
about
that.
you,
I
Simon.
understand that you get questioned all the time and you don't understand what it is to sit here for 8 months and being discriminated against.
Don't make assumptions about what the rest of us do. Mind your manners when you're in here. If you have a problem, you bring it up afterwards. But you are impinging on everybody in here who's only trying to do their job.
What has just occurred this last 10, 15 minutes is unacceptable. It is unacceptable. So we're either going to continue the briefing or we can just end the briefing right here. No. Okay, well then let's go.
Karine Jean-Pierre brought some real middle school classroom teacher vibes to that, and like, I'll wait. Are you done now?
So, my understanding is that this particular reporter has genuinely been absorbing a lot of time in the briefing room. And it went from a plausible claim of I'm being ignored to a realization that that kind of grievance politics created quite a following on Twitter and got him a lot of support and prominence that a reporter of his beat probably would not have, rightly or wrongly. And that now it has become a little bit of a performance, so much so that has caused other members of the other reporters in the room to feel like he's cutting into their opportunities to ask questions. And so whereas I am broadly not sympathetic to the idea of the authoritarianism of barring certain kind of reporters or threatening them to throw them out and those kinds of things. And while I wouldn't always credit the consensus in the room as being right simply because it's the consensus, we saw them all laughing heartily at the idea of a challenger to Joe Biden and Marianne Williamson and the crystal ball comment and all of that. It is hard for me to disentangle in this instance what is a kind of overreach from the White House and what is a reporter who at this point does benefit from these kind of exchanges in terms of his own personal brand. I honestly can't tell at this point.
Yeah, fair enough. Obviously, they have to take turns asking questions. Like if someone totally monopolizes the floor, it's just not going to work. That's not really fair to the other people. I have no desire whatsoever to shield Karine Jean-Pierre or anyone else, no matter who the White House press secretary is, no matter whose White House it is, to shield them from difficult questions. I think, nobody should get too precious about occasional outbursts or that kind of thing. Like, oh, it's not, again, decorum, who cares? You're supposed to confront.
Shouting decorum is pretty hilarious.
Yeah. Decorum! You're supposed to be confronting powerful people with uncomfortable questions. That's the whole role of the press. It's adversarial. It's supposed to be adversarial. If the press secretary, Karine Jean-Pierre, or whoever it is having a grand old time, then they're not doing their jobs right. That said, it has to be enough of a your turn kind of thing. There have to be some rules, or else it's just not going to work. They're just not going to do them, and then that's everyone losing the opportunity to ask good questions. So I think it's fine to come up with some rules for how things are going to be, and that way you're not like arbitrarily throwing people out, and then everybody has to abide by that. Will the rules, if they're the White House's rules will be probably go too far in the like no one can ever make anyone uncomfortable ever direction, I would expect.
Yeah.
But
I mean, look, there's certainly problems with the White House press corps and the kind of pomp and circumstance around it all. Just a couple of weeks ago with the White House Correspondents' Dinner, at which there was so much like self-congratulation and bloviating about the integrity of the press, at the same time that there was a Julian Assange protest outside and absolutely no conversation, no mention at all of that enormous abridgment of press freedoms within the context of the actual event.
Absolutely.
And so, and part of what's so unsettling to people is that even the idea of that event, where it's kind of this self-congratulatory thing where the White House awards journalists that have covered it well. You know, there was like a photographer who got an award for taking like the best White House coverage photo, which is like a photo of Biden coming out of the White House. I mean, it's that kind of relationship that starts to ask questions about, is this really an adversarial press?
We want to reward people who take photos like the one of Donald Trump appearing to yell at the kid mowing the lawn.
Well, there's an argument there that like there's bias even in that. You know, I'm sure people have their takes. But you know, the idea of a White House Correspondents' Dinner is, you know, we can take the piss out of the president. You know, you can make jokes, you can make fun of him in front of or them in front of their faces, and that it demonstrates that there really is a free press, and that these people who are making jokes at the president's expense aren't going to be hauled off to the gulag. Great, but at a certain point, it becomes clear that it's performance when the jokes aren't that hard and when genuine adversarial questions are rarely asked in the briefing room, like about Seymour Hersh's reporting about the Nord Stream pipeline, for instance.
Yeah, absolutely. The relationship between this White House in particular and much of the press is the opposite of adversarial. It's all. I mean, we talk about the kind of misinformation framing on everything, the idea that, you know, it's all about the irresponsibility of platforming anything that's too oppositional to Biden or too out there or too crazy, in a way that's doing the bidding of the administration for it. That's adopting a position that the mainstream press's role is not to provide information, but actually to suppress information that is too far outside their narrow constraints. That's the role they have adopted increasingly over the last, well, certainly during the Trump years, they came to see that as their role. And then when there was an administration that they're not hostile to taking over, then what is their role? If they're not, basically the agenda they support, the party they support is in control of things. So now what's it about? Now it's about trying to assemble guardrails and you know, complaining about, look at how these right-wing narratives are spreading in the news and on the social medias and all of that kind of stuff.
Yeah, and I would also just caution the White House to not create stars. I mean, grievance culture is huge right now. If you want to get someone to click on your YouTube video, just say, they're trying to suppress me. They're trying to keep me down. The algorithm hates me. I'm independent. Da, da, da. And some of that stuff is true. I'm not saying it's not. But there's obviously a market for the idea that Big Brother's out to get me. The government is hunting me. I'm the subject of a political prosecution and all of this stuff.
Not you throwing some shade at our competitors.
No, not at all. I mean, it's literally everyone on the internet. Tucker Carlson's doing it right now. Fox News out. I mean, and again, it's not that it's not true, but honestly, since everyone seems to have a grievance, it's like it all just starts to become a big puddle of muh. But when you have a small actor like this, a relatively small and unknown actor like this politician, you can create an entire career out of it. I mean, there are people, and again, it's not that they aren't right or substantively that something's not true, but that the swimmer, for instance, who was in a race with a trans woman swimmer who, you know, has like a whole career off of objecting to swimming in a race with a trans woman. Substantively, that's fine. But at what point are we, you know, I think that Karine Jean-Pierre and the White House can unintentionally create a star that becomes more of a problem for them if they are perceived to be treating them unfairly. So if anything, I would just tread softly.
Well, that does it for our show for today. You have to like, share, and subscribe, and share all our stuff immediately, or we're going off the air. It's all over.
The algorithm is after us.
We're being suppressed. We're being hunted. We're being hunted in the streets without your support. Tomorrow, Jessica Burbank and Amber Athey will be guest hosting. You'll be looking forward to that, and we'll see you later. Yeah, be sure to like, share, and subscribe so you never miss any content. And for those of you who prefer to listen while you're on the move, you can find us anywhere you listen to podcasts. Bye-bye. Bye-bye.